Here is a quick tutorial that will teach you how to use our prepared materials to support a student's personalized learning plan. The purpose of the personalized learning plan is to meet students where they are academically, to make sure they're staying on track, and to make sure they're always adequately challenged. The plan will lead to students who are competent and confident in their abilities. After a trial class and before the next scheduled class, ClassUp will provide you with the personalized learning plan for the student. The curriculum for each grade level has a preset sequence. The initial personalized learning plan that you receive will default to a preset sequence of the student's current grade level. Let's assume you're teaching a fourth grader. You will see something like this. However, the personalized learning plans are customizable for each student. After reviewing their assessment and working with the student, you can begin to alter the default learning plan. If you find that a student is behind, you can add lessons from earlier modules or earlier grades to their personalized learning plan. This will allow the student to fill in skill gaps so that they can build a solid foundation in fundamental concepts before moving on. On the other hand, if a student is working above grade level, you can add lessons from the next grade to their learning plan. In either case, the goal of the personalized learning plan is to meet students where they are to build both their confidence and competence in their mathematical abilities. The ClassUp math materials are designed to support the personalized learning plan. Each lesson has 1 to 3 warm-ups. The intention of the warm-ups is to assess the student's readiness for the lesson. Let's take a look at this grade 5 lesson about adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. There are 2 warm-ups. The first warm-up is testing if the student can add and subtract fractions with like denominators. This is something that they should know how to do before trying to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. If you find they do not know how to add and subtract fractions with like denominators, it is a good time to add the earlier lesson that covers this topic to their personalized learning plan. If you see that the student is confident in completing the problems in the warm-ups, then you can assume they will be ready to learn the new content in the current lesson. Once the warm-up is complete, you can start teaching the portion of the lesson we call the example. Each lesson will have about 1 to 3 examples that are each followed by practice problems for the student to try to complete on their own. During the example, it is your job to guide the student to really understand what they're doing and why they are doing it. The problems often present diagrams, number lines, and ask comprehension questions to really help the student understand the math that they're doing. The goal is to move away from telling students to just do this or do that to solve a problem. We're looking for a deeper understanding. This will allow the students to retain more of what they're learning while building their confidence in their abilities. In this lesson, we see that in the first example, the student is being asked to add 2 unit fractions with unlike denominators. Instead of telling the student to multiply the first fraction by 4/4 and the second by 3/3, we've provided a diagram to help them explore this concept. The goal is to have them come up with the process for adding these 2 fractions on their own. Once you feel that the student really understands the problem from the example, it is their turn to show you what they know by doing practice problems. Ideally, they'll be able to articulate to you how to do the problem, but you can always refer them back to the example if they get stuck. A lesson will be complete once the warm-ups, all examples, and all practice problems have been covered. You will notice that there are tutor notes at the bottom of some of the slides. Notes are added when there are hints or tips that will be useful in teaching the example or aiding in the practice. In this example, we want them to know that the wholes have to be the same size in order to add the 2 fractions. In some cases, we will add notes to let you know that, for example, it is okay if they leave their answer as 4/8 instead of simplifying to 1/2. We know that all students work at different paces. If you're unable to finish a lesson during your session, that's okay. Just pick up where you left off during the next session. If you happen to finish a lesson with time left over, feel free to start the next lesson. Again, the goal is to meet students where they are so that they're feeling confident in the work that they do with you. Now let's look at the spreadsheet where the lessons currently live. You'll notice that there are sometimes 2 PowerPoints linked instead of 1. For these lessons, you can choose the PowerPoint that comes with the solutions or the one that does not. Choose whichever PowerPoint you are the most comfortable working with. Lastly, I want to touch on the trial lessons. Focus on covering 1 or 2 concepts. This will allow you to cover the material on a deeper level and will also allow you to give the student and parents good feedback on what they learned and what they will cover next year in their personalized learning plan. I hope you have found this tutorial helpful. If you ever have questions, please do not hesitate to ask.